All right, well, everybody, welcome back. I have to first start this out. You saw the title, and I'll get to that, but I have to first start this out by just thanking y'all all tremendously. I never thought in a million years it would take just a few weeks to get to some sort of monetization, and that occurred. You all have been watching these videos, at least a couple of videos here, like it's going out of style. And I talked about that before, that this obviously resonated with some folks and all the comments and everything. And, I can't thank y'all enough. I never thought in a million years that I'd be at a place where, this channel could make some little type of money. I'm not expecting anything big, but it's just great that interest was that high that we actually got here to a little over 14, almost at 1,400 subscribers as of this video. And I can't thank y'all enough. I wanted to show y'all a couple of things that I've been doing over the past couple of weeks, and to tell you that the humble part, the humility part here, I guess might be kind of an understatement. I thought for the longest time that electrical was going to be kind of what I've been dealing with in my first contract. And that was, I'm actually installing receptacles and fixtures and running MC, all those things. And I thought that was kind of how it was, on top of ladders and sweating, profusely, and, that all those things. I really thought that that's kind of how electrical would go. But here comes the humbling part. And the journeymen, apprentices for that matter, and masters will know that no, you have to start at the bottom most of the time. So it was really, in hindsight, a huge blessing that I was able to start out in commercial at such a place where I didn't do all of the grunt work, if you will. So when I say grunt work, I didn't know that I would be digging trenches, pulling large amounts of wire, 3/0 wire as a matter of fact, which is a very big wire, pulling it into these trenches, probably about 500 feet or so, maybe a little bit more. And I didn't realize that concrete mixing, all those things would be part of electrical. The intent with this contract was to run that 3/0 wire that I mentioned from a crawl space into the disconnect box, from the disconnect box across a field, this is a school by the way, to a transformer, temporary transformer for now, but they're gonna move the other transformer in later. So that was, where this started, where I began to realize this is the first day of the contract where that wire, the beginning phases of that wire was going to have to be laid into the ground, and trenches would need to be dug first. So this was new to me. I'd heard about this sort of thing before, but I don't know that I was necessarily ready for the type of manual labor, the intensive labor that goes into pulling a wire with 3-4 other guys. That is easily, you're pulling 40, 50 pounds, for a good amount of time, trying to pull that wire, fold it up in a way and such that you can then start placing it into the trenches. After that, I had to begin the process of mixing concrete so that we could, and once again, this wire, this 3/0 wire, this thick wire, it took about 2 days for us to get all of that pulled in. In the middle, we're doing other things, of course, while we've got to rest in between this huge wire we're pulling. But then, of course, cement mixing. This is where cement has to be mixed so that this transformer can go in. I have to be honest, this was probably the most taxing on my body that out of anything else I'd done over the past few months was this was a lot. This was a lot. And I had to kind of had to deal with that I am old, and I thought for whatever reason that my first contract, what I thought was hard, not even close. This was hard. Mixing concrete, of course, using a pickaxe to open up the ground for these trenches. It was a lot. I took the video that I could, of course, of it. You're on a live job site, so there's only so much you can put in. It was a realization for me, that my body is probably, this may not be something that's sustainable. So that's as far as in that world. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no intention of giving up, but I do have to be realistic once again that my body may not be able to hold up under those sorts of jobs. And I have to be honest with that. I was on that site for a week, and my body, every morning that I woke up, was sore than it's ever been before. Of course, I took my painkillers. I did, to make sure I'm having the water, all that. But it was hard. So, like I said, I said, and I made a big mistake? But as I give you a little bit more information here, there's a couple other things that have been a little bit disappointing. So that's part of where the disappointment comes in is a little bit later. But that was something that was a bit hard. It was a realization for me. Inspiration. I have to tell you, these young people, I'm truly inspired by them. I am truly inspired by them. I was around a few of them in this, I'm always around the younger generations, the high schoolers, 20-year-olds, and so forth, in this line. And I have to tell you, the things that they told me, it really inspired me. It really made me feel like our future is that they're seeing things that I don't think that many of us in my generation, maybe even before, really considered. Times are rough right now, and there's no way to pretend like they're not. Economically, politically, foreign war, the whole thing. But these young people, I really feel like they have a future. I feel as if they're going to do things very differently than we have. I was speaking to a young African-American male, young black man, and he was telling me, he said, man, I got into this because we black folks, we need a trade. We need to be able to do something with our hands. And I'm so tired of my cousins and all these people, all these people in my family, young men and stuff, that they don't have a trade, don't have anything that they can do. And I just want to be able to do that. You know how that, I can't tell you how happy that made me. And I don't know why it made me so happy. I guess maybe it made me happy because of my child. I think of the young people his age, and it makes me, it really gives me hope that these young folks, they're not like, I got to go to school, I got to put myself deep in debt. They're willing to take on the hard work that goes along with the trades, with a blue collar job. I talked to another young person, young man, he was a millennial, probably in his 30s, early 30s. And he was telling me that he used to be a data analyst. He was an engineer. He was tired of that, and he didn't want to sit at a desk anymore. And this is where he felt fulfilled. And this is a 3-4 year, almost journeyman, this young man. And to hear him talk and to realize the amount of knowledge that this young man had, like I said, I was over the moon. To hear that, just to feel good about our generation coming up. It's just, I'm so inspired by that. It makes me want to keep going, and it makes me happy that these are some of the folks that are going to be, they're going to be training me up, to be, in all honesty. One thing that I find very interesting is how a lot of this generation talks. Y'all have heard these phrases before, but when you're in the field together, it's funny how they come up and you recognize exactly what they mean after a while, on God, right? And it's a skills issue. That was a new one. I hadn't heard that one in a while. Meaning, that if you're not doing it right, whatever that might be, it's probably a skills issue. And on God, the skills issue, on my mama, it's just part of how they talk. And then the other one was type, SHIT. Like they would say this and type. I was just like, wow, okay. But anyway, just something I had to put in there. It's these young people they're so fun to be around. And like I said, just inspirational. The discouraging part. I was faced recently with what I can only say was probably ageism. It was my age that became an issue. And while I've talked to y'all before about kind of realizing that's probably going to be an obstacle. When it happens, it's something that it's something that I had to swallow real hard with. And in this instance, it was one of those situations. I got a call back from the folks that I probably mentioned. I don't know if y'all remember those videos. If I have it, I'll put it up here somewhere. But I had a call back from the folks that before I had read the application incorrectly, where I had, instead of the E1, they needed E2s and E3s. Well, that company, they called me back again. If you remember, they canceled my interview because of that I was not I was, only in first year. They called me back. I was excited. She tells me on the phone, look, we're about to start a class up in November. Come on out here. We'll sit down for an interview and we'll go from there. So I get there, of course, and I want to show y'all this. Hey guys, well, I am sitting right now in front of, it's a member contractor with IEC, and a lot of y'all probably remember, at least me talking about the fact that I was in need of a member contractor. I've been doing a lot of temporary work in the meantime. Now I'm out in front of that member contractor. I'm about to go in for an interview. It's actually the same place that I talked about before. It looks like they are looking now for first year people to start in the coming weeks. So I'm here now. I'm hoping things go well. I'm still kind of worried about, graying my beard and looking a little bit older for this, but, I've done my best. I'm trying to, I caught myself trying to actually, I'm not going to wear glasses, and we'll try to, cut out a little bit of the gray in my beard so they don't know exactly how old I am. So I know it's probably silly, but I'll let y'all know how it goes. I just wanted to kind of, just put this out there. I know a lot of y'all are following me. I know that it's not completely up to me. It's a God thing. So I'm putting it in his hands, and he's gonna go before me. And like I said, I'll let y'all know how it goes.
A few moments later.
Well, I don't think that went very well. I could be wrong. I was in there with a lot of young guys, and in the interview, there's about 3 of us. He made us take a pre-test, and the trainer came in along with another one of the electricians, and it was just a weird vibe. I don't know how this is. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, because seems like I keep hitting that same wall. It's like, this is for young people, and where do I fit into all this? Am I just wasting everybody's time, including my own? Right now, it's not looking real good. Right now, it doesn't look real good, but who knows? Monday, I just really want to work, man. I want to work. I want to get back in there, and I want to use my tools. Crazy part is I feel teachable. I am teachable. I'm young, I'm old, but I'm teachable. But give a little bit of context. The end of that, when I went into that interview, I was really hopeful. But when I sat down, they gave us a pretest. We did the pretest, that was graded or whatever. This was a very thorough, detailed test, and so they were trying to see just how much you knew. So I was okay with that. You got the pretest done, at which point the trainer comes in. Now, when the trainer comes in, it's hard to explain. The best way for me to explain it is that like the room the air kind of left the room, and it was palatable, if that makes sense. It was, I could feel that something had changed. So once again, they had never seen me before, so here I am. And the questions started. A little odd line of questions. Now, like I said to you, there were 2 younger kids there, 18-year-old, 20-year-old. First question that the trainer asks is, and it's a nervous energy. What did you all do before you got here? And I'm thinking to myself, it just, he's kind of looking at me while he says this, and I'm just kind of taken back. But I answered the question. The 2 young guys, one at Walmart, the other one don't think he had a job, which to me made the questions even a little stranger. But I told him, once he got to me, I said, hey, I told him the situation, much like y'all are all familiar with, the pivot and trying to find a career. It's been a long time, I'm old, whatever. So I didn't say necessarily I'm old, but, just kind of giving them the rundown. And like I said, it was obvious at that point that something really clicked and changed. It was time at that point to kind of go over. They went over the November class, things that were going on at you guys as far as your tools, so forth, going over what we'd be looking at in the coming month. And I was excited. I'm like, oh, cool. Looks like I'm going to actually get in here with these folks. They got a training class as well that goes along with my schooling. It's going to be wonderful. Well, they took the one at a time. They took each of us out. They took at least the first 20-year-old guy, and they were going to talk to them about background checks and so forth, background checks and drug testing. So they took the first guy, and then I noticed they took the second guy out, and then they got to me. So I ended up going to the office where the trainer wasn't there. It was the lady that the hiring manager. She proceeds to tell me that you're not going to be in the November class. I'm going to check with one of our service managers and see if they need someone down there. But we'll give you a call. So that was it. Now, I do have to say, before I left, the trainer tells me that he has 340 IEC students that are looking to work here. So that's what I was left with. I don't think that I was going to be in that number. Obviously, that he had plenty more to choose from. So that's where the discouragement part comes in. It was obvious to me that I believe that there was an age issue, that, this was kind of another one of those situations. So that's discouraged. I'm not going to stay in that place. I was talking with a friend of mine. There's a couple other avenues. I know you guys in the comments are going to give me some good suggestions as well, and I thank you for that. Some motivation, right? But I just wanted to put that out there. That's where I'm at right now. Is that I'm still looking for a full-time contract. I'm on the last kind of side of things. I may have to go a different direction as far as getting my training, but I have no intention of quitting. I'm going to keep pushing through. I do have to be realistic about the sites, the sort of work that in the first year that I can do, but if worse comes to worse, if I have to, that's what I'm going to do, just so I can make it through this. So I just wanted to put that out there, guys. I appreciate y'all listening again, for y'all being a part of this. Thanks for so many of y'all actually subscribing. And, you're just a wonderful community, and I thank you again. But that's it for now. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all on the next one.